Hi friends, in today's current affairs session, we're looking into an important aspect, profiting from pandemic. Profiting from pandemic. So this particular topic is related to the growing inequalities during the pandemic time, that is COVID-19. This topic is important for essay, and you may get a question either in society or GS3, but be prepared it is for an essay because you may get a chance. Next, so this profiting from pandemic, recently a report published by Oxfam, this Oxfam is not a governmental, it's not an intergovernmental agency, but it's an agency of like-minded people, but it is an international level agency. It publishes reports on growing inequalities in the world, and it has its own base in London, and it has founded or established in the year 1942. Every year this Oxfam releases the report, and based on that the countries whoever want to change their policies, they will try to change, and most of the time opposition parties will use this information to criticize the governments. Anyhow, this report has its own credibility, and this year, that means in the year 2022, in the month of May, they have released the report. The report name is Profiting from Pain. Profiting from Pain. I think almost all the newspapers have published that gist of that report. Now today we will discuss what exactly that report is saying about, and what are the reasons for that growing inequalities, and how we can address that. So those aspects we will discuss in this class. But before I start what exactly the things mentioned in the report, inequalities, you need to understand the inequalities, because everyone, are they same? Are they equal? How can you define that equality? So what exactly the equality means? That means, suppose if I am having a bank balance of 5 lakh rupees, and if someone is also having the 5 lakh rupees, is it called an equality? Such a level of perfect equality is possible. So what type of inequality and what type of equality that we are discussing? You must have an idea, because a lot of various groups like political parties, pressure groups, non-governmental organizations, they will also talk about equality. But what type of equality is possible? And what type of equality that we are discussing today? Because if you are aspiring for a perfect equality, that means everyone should be equal in all aspects, perhaps that's not possible in the near future. And some of the economists argues like, and they have even concluded like, economic inequality is beneficial for overall stimulating growth. So there should be an inequality, that's what they are saying. But you must understand one thing, for this entire inequality, the basic necessities must be fulfilled to everyone. So from that base, if you talk about inequality, then it will be worth enough. But if a person is not having enough food to have, and is not having a shelter, and if you are talking about like inequality is okay, inequality stimulates the growth, that doesn't work. First of all, in a society, everyone must get minimum basic needs: food, shelter, clothing, health, education, skills. So once the society is having basic minimum facilities, then on that above, if there are some inequalities that always aspires for a that always inculcate some sort of aspirations in the youth or aspirations in the people, and that leads to some sort of animal spirit, that spirit is leading to a high growth. And after meeting the minimum necessities, if everyone is same, perhaps there is no enough incentivization for the persons to grow. So that is the reason why perhaps some of the economists have concluded like the economic inequality is beneficial for overall stimulating growth, and it improves the quality of members of that society. But before you understand there must be an inequality, this condition must get fulfilled. Without fulfilling this condition, if you are allowing the inequality, then it leads to serious problems. It leads to serious problems, and ultimately it leads to destabilization of society. And I will tell some of the problems, like if there is an inequality without meeting the basic necessities of the society or basic necessities of the individuals in an economy, first of all it leads to less growth. That means if individuals are unable to meet its basic needs, but some people are becoming rich, that means these people don't have a minimum facilities, these people are having luxurious life. That means most of the resources that are moving from this to this, and when most of the resources are moving from a poor to rich, then definitely he will accumulate the overall wealth. And when a wealth is accumulated in the hands of few people, they may not utilize it to its fullest potential. Had that money in the hands of the poor people, probably they might have used it for either consumption or for the production purposes. But the money in the hands of few people may not be utilized to its fullest potential, and it will be kept it in some assets which are not at all good for the performance of economy, like land, gold, or in some other forms. So that means if this type of inequalities grows, then it led to the lower growth. So whatever the wealth that we are talking about, if that wealth is in the hands of many people, then that wealth will be put to use, and that will be incentivize the growth, and so that your economy will grow. So this is the first aspect you need to understand. So this type of inequalities leads to less growth. Next, this type of inequalities leads to lot of social problems in the sense either in terms of health, either in terms of education, or in terms of any other basic necessities, and these social problems will lead to anger among the downtrodden people. And moreover, when the wealth in the hands of poor people is coming down, wealth in the hands of rich people is growing, means this leads to exploitation. That means how come this person is making lot of amount of money? This person is making lot of amount of money because he is exploiting from this, because his income status is not increasing. So there is no improvement in the income status of this person, but there is a huge amount of increase in the income status. That means it is exploitation. So it leads to exploitation, it leads to social problems, and also it leads to some political problems, because that is what exactly the democracy which we are talking about. In a democracy, it is not just like everyone is having some political rights, but economic status will also play an important role, and politically these people will become unrepresented, and no one is there to hear the voice of these people, and ultimately it will question the existence of system itself. So that is why we need to discuss about inequalities. There are two different schools of thought, like these are the problems if you allow the inequality, but some people say inequalities are to some extent okay. But the point is, the basic thing is, once everyone is get fulfilled with their basic needs, and then if you have any some inequality, that will incentivize for more growth. But without meeting any basic necessities, if you just allow the inequality, then it leads to serious problems. And perhaps majority of the countries are facing this problem, including India. This might be a problem in the Western countries, because in some of the Western countries there is there is nothing like an absolute poverty. In relatively there is some sort of differences, but there is no something like an absolute poverty. People are not starving out of the people are not dying out of starvation. People are not even in a position to spend $1 per day. So that type of thing is not possible. That type of thing is not there in some of the Western countries. So that is why we are defining the poverty into two. One is relative poverty and another one is absolute poverty. So that absoluteness is there in the developing and underdeveloped countries, that relativeness is there in the Western countries. But anyhow, these type of inequalities will pose a serious challenge to the existence of the system. And if you observe, during the COVID-19 period, that means in the last 2 years, we have seen how some people have really faced the problem. Even they don't have enough food to have, and migrant workers, you have seen how they moved. And now even if you observe in your villages, the people who worked earlier but now they don't find any work. So when a majority, and it's not only related to India, this entire concept is related to the whole humanity, that means whole world. When some people are facing an acute poverty and some people are growing like anything, so that cannot be acceptable. That cannot be acceptable. When entire humanity is facing their own existential threat, but some people are earning lot of amount of money and their income, their profits, their wealth is growing like anything. So that inequality is not at all acceptable, and that will not allow the system to continue. So that is why we need to discuss this entire growing inequalities or the profiting from pandemic. Okay, and this entire topic is not specific to the India, it is related to the whole world, because this report is talking about the entire scenario in the world. Now I will come to the report. Once you understand the inequalities and different type of inequalities and what are the problems associated with that inequality, now I will come to the report. See, in this report, they have clearly mentioned, like in some sectors, people earn lot of profit. Not like every sector and every rich individual has become more rich during pandemic. Only few sectors especially they mentioned. The sectors that have earned more profit is food sector, pharmaceutical sector, energy sector and technology sector. So a technical sector, pharmaceutical sector, energy sector, food sector, pharmaceutical sector, these are some of the sectors that are benefited more during the pandemic. Now if you observe the data of the Oxfam report, you can download it from the internet, it is available, and those who have already followed it in the newspaper, probably the students might have some sort of idea on this. But the number of billionaires has increased, the wealth of billionaires increased. People are the people are crossing the rate at which the people crossing the below poverty line is increased. So there are various things are there in this report. Now I will just mention some of the things so that you can understand the gravity of this problem. So the first one is, these are the important findings, just have an idea, and wherever it is necessary you can quote this data. See, the first important thing is, the billionaires, they have a fortune in the last 24 months which they could not have in the last 23 years. That means whatever they have earned in the last 23 years, whatever they have earned in the last 23 years, they could make it in last 24 months. So it is about their earnings, it is about their profits. So what they could not have done in the last 23 years, what they could have done in the 23 years, that now they have done in the 24 months. You can understand the severity. Next, in the year 2021, and that too during the pandemic, if you see, 62 new food billionaires has emerged in the food sector. In the food sector, 62 new billionaires emerged. $263 million people will be in extreme poverty in the year 2022. That means in the present year, these many people will enter into extreme poverty. That means around 1 million people per hour, that you can calculate, per 33 hours. So 1 million people for 33 hours. And when it comes to billionaire, and in the last 1 year of pandemic, every billionaire has emerged for every 30 hours. Every billionaire has emerged for 30 hours. So these are some facts that you must understand from the Oxfam report. How much amount of money that they are amassing or that they are accumulating, and these are the billionaires only in terms of food sector. And you can see how many people they are going to be in acute or in an extreme poverty, and you can see the emergence of billionaire. Now, this inequalities during the pandemic has created lot of other inequalities also, not only in terms of money. And whatever the parameters that you take which shows which symbolizes the inequality, in every front this inequality you can observe, either in terms of schooling, or in terms of health, or in terms of women participation, or in terms of the oppressed sections or the backward sections, or in terms of wealth, or in terms of the comparison between the different countries. So in every parameter of inequality we have performed in a worse manner across the world. Now I will show you some of the parameters so that you can understand how unequal we are today. See, when it comes to the wealth inequality, in terms of wealth inequality, the total billionaires that are added to the list of billionaires in the year 2020, that means from 2020 when pandemic has begun till the report is released, the total number of billionaires that they have added to the list is 573. That means 573 more billionaires were added since the beginning of pandemic. The total amount of wealth in the hands of the billionaires is $12.7 trillion. $12.7 trillion. Okay, a little less than China's GDP, and this accounts to 13.9% of global GDP. 13.9% of global GDP. So what is the total global, in total global GDP, 13.9% is in the hands of the billionaires. And you will surprise, it was in the year 2000, it is just 4%. In the year it is just 4%, but now it has become 14%. That means in the last 20 years, you can see how much increase. It is a more than threefold increase in the wealth of the billionaires. Next, the 10 top people, the 10 top billionaires are having a wealth equivalent to 40% of the poorest humanity. So 40% of the poor people, how much they have, that will be in the hands of 10% of the top rich billionaires. And 20 billionaires, top 20 billionaires are owning a GDP of the entire sub-Saharan countries, or the entire wealth of that sub-Saharan countries. It's GDP of sub-Saharan countries. So that means you just observe the wealth, it is increasing, and the concentration that is happening in a way you can observe from this, and how new billionaires are coming. And if you understand, I said, like during the COVID-19, for every 30 minutes a billionaire comes, and for every 33 hours 1 million people are getting into poverty. That means they are going to. That means if 1 billionaire has to emerge, means 1 million people should undergo poverty. That means somewhere this health is transferring from this poor to rich. In the economy, you cannot observe it with your naked eye. Like, sir, how this money is going from this person to that person, I will come to it little bit later, I will try to explain. But if a person is becoming billionaires, means an equivalent 1 million people are dropping into an absolute poverty, an extreme poverty. So that is the thing that you must understand, that shows the severity, and it's happening all over the world. It's happening all over the world. Next, this is about the wealth inequalities. Next, income inequalities. How much they are earning. Earlier it was about wealth. Now it is about the income inequality. In the income inequality, and according to Oxfam report, 99% of the humanity's income has fallen. 99% of the humanity has incomes of the humanity has fallen during the COVID-19. And next one is, this is a very important thing. What is the income that a billionaire, a top billionaire, is able to accumulate in 1 year? 1 year, that means how much amount of income that he is going to get in the 1 year. It will take 112 years for a poor person to get that amount of money. And you should be very careful when you are reading this. Suppose, just assume a billionaire has a billionaire income in the 1 year, just assume like for our understanding 100 crores, just assume. In order to earn this 100 crore, a poor person has to work for 112 years. And the year, suppose first year, second year, third year, fourth year, how much he is earning in the first year is not same in the second year. How much he is earning in the second year is not same in the third year. It will increase. And having calculated that increase also, he has to work for 112 years to get 1 year income of a billionaire. So that is the level of inequality. That is the level of inequality that now we are observing. So this is about income inequality. There are many points, but I don't want to give all which are important, which you can remember. Only those things I am giving. And when it comes to the gender inequality, and gender inequality has grown during this pandemic. Even there was a report, it's not a government report, in India also, like women participation has come down. Women participation has come down during the pandemic because of various reasons. The first is the tourism and hospitality sector has come down. Tourism and hospitality sector has completely halted, and this tourism and hospitality sector is the one which provides employment more to women, and that is why they have lost the job here. Second aspect, because of this lockdowns and pandemic, the industry want to reduce its workforce. They want to cut short their workforce, and immediately when an industry want to reduce the workforce, immediately they will try to cut down this women workforce. So that is how some of the women has lost the job. Some of the women has lost the job because of this, and during the pandemic they have tried to give less amount of wages, and when they are giving less amount of wages, obviously it is a woman who will be the more loser, because already woman's salary is less, again she will get very less. So that means in the incomes and salaries and wages, the women, the gender inequality, and when it comes to the downsizing of employment, it is the woman the victim, and when it comes to the sectors wise, the sectors in which women find more employment, those sectors were shut down, and because of that there was a serious gender inequalities prevail across the world. So this is about gender inequality. And today if you see, according to this Oxfam, today 13 million women, in the year 2021, the 13 million women were low compared to that of 2019. Compared to 2019, 13 million women are low. So this is about gender inequality. Gender inequality. And there is also a racial inequality. There is also a racial inequality. It is something like a gender same, because in every society, in America, in Africa, in Western countries like European continent, India, traditional Oriental countries like Eastern countries, this racial discrimination is there. In some countries based on the nationality, in some countries based on the race, in some countries based on the caste, in some countries based on the religion. And wherever, if at all you want to downsize your employment, or if you want to reduce the wages, obviously the first target is these backward sections. And because of this, there was a huge racial discrimination that was there, and Oxfam has given some figures, but they are not important for us. Just try to remember that there is a racial discrimination was also there, that means racial inequality. And apart from that, health inequality. Health inequality. So during the pandemic, the cost of this health service increased. So those people who are having money, they are able to get that benefit, and those people who are not having, they are not getting. And even some of the African countries, they even did not get the vaccine till today. And most of the people in India got 2 doses. And most of the America has vaccinated. There are some people who don't want to take the vaccine, but apart from that it is vaccinated. But there are some poor countries, even they did not get the vaccine till today. And during the COVID-19 in India, you observed how much struggle that the common man of India underwent to get the health service in India. And especially the private care, you have seen how costly it was. So there are healthcare inequalities are there, and in some states the public health sector was good, but in some state it is not good. People opted for a private facility, and that has led to health inequalities. Health inequalities. And it's not only the health related to COVID-19. Because of this COVID-19, the healthcare services for other diseases and other things have also increased. The people who are having diabetes, the people who need to go for a transplantation of different organs, or the dialysis patients, or even the labor and pregnancy related services. So they are all become costly, and those who can afford, they are getting; those who are unable to afford, they are not getting. So this is health inequality. And when it comes to the education also, educational inequalities are there. And in the economic survey itself, the survey mentioned, it's not a government, but this ASR survey, annual survey on education report, that they have published, a Pratham is an NGO, they published the report, and you have seen like most of the people are shifting from private schools to government schools because they don't have money. And even in the online education, those who are having the facilities, they are able to get the education. Those who don't have access to this digital technology and devices, they are unable to get. So that means whatever the parameter that you take, wealth parameter, income parameter, gender parameter, racial parameter, health parameter, education parameter, in all these things there was a considerable gap compared to the pre-COVID-19. And during the pre-COVID-19, there was during the pre-COVID-19 also there are some inequalities, and these inequalities now aggravated. They have increased in every aspect. They have increased, and it's not just on this. Even the inequality between individual countries has also increased. Earlier, if you see, the gap between developed countries and developing countries, to some extent it is converging. It is converging. It's not like a parallel, or it's not like a diverging, but it is converging. It is converging. But suddenly, because of this, it has taken a reverse trend. Because lot of developing countries, including India, we have taken lot of debt. Including India, we have taken lot of debt. And when you take this much amount of debt, then definitely you cannot spend the amount where you must spend, because your income has reduced, you go for a debt. When you go for a debt, you will carefully spend the money which you have taken in terms of debt, and either you will cut on health expenditure, or you will cut on education, or you will cut on economic development, because you don't have enough money. You have only limited amount of money, because there is a limitation to that debt for every country. They can't take huge amount of debt. If they take, ultimately it will become another Sri Lanka. That's what Sri Lanka is facing now. So you can't take beyond a certain point. And when you don't have enough money to spend, that automatically affects the developmental trajectory of the country. That will affect on the growth rate of that country. That leads to again this divergence. So that means the inequalities among the countries is also increasing. So this is the exact inequalities. Okay, you understood, like, okay, people, that means public lost the employment, and to where exactly this entire money is going? Okay, I am become poor, I lost the employment, but where exactly this entire money that is going in the economy? Even though I could not earn, but I have to spend, and whatever I am spending, it's not again coming back to me. It has to come back, no, because I have to work, and even I am working, I am getting less, but I am spending, and this spending is going somewhere. Likewise, that wealth, that is, if you observe the wealth that is coming to me and the wealth that is going from me, if you see, there is an imbalance, and from where it is going in the hands of the few people. That is why billionaires are emerged, and I am only talking about billionaires. And apart from the billionaires, if you observe every doctor, every private practitioner, except barring few who are having some sort of social concern, everyone has become rich. From where they got all that money? It is the money of common man. It is the money of individual. Did that money from that person again enter into the hands of these common people? No. It has locked somewhere. It is with someone. But are he going to, or those people are going to spend that money for productive purposes, for the production, for the providing employment? No, they don't. They will spend some amount of money on some luxurious items, otherwise they will keep it as idle. And if this money, if it goes and if it is stored somewhere, are we going to use this money for its fullest potential? Is this wealth is going to create any employment? Is this thing is this money or is this wealth is going to multiply? No, because you are not using it for the productive purposes, and automatically the growth come down. Had that money in the hands of the same people, they could have used it for other purpose. And if they spend again, if that money comes in the hands of the same people, again they will use it for different purposes. Today I have a money, I purchase the pen. So the pen manufacturing company will get a benefit. Again, if I find a work and if I get the salary again, tomorrow I will purchase a mobile. And next day mobile company will get a benefit. Again I am working and I will get that money, I will purchase a cooler, air cooler will get a benefit. So that means this is how the economy grows. But if this entire money is locked with somebody, then it cannot lead to the growth, and it leads to reduction in the growth. That is a major problem that you are going to face. Okay, once you understand this, these inequalities, so what are the reasons for this? What are the reasons for this? See, the reasons are very, very important. Reasons are very, very important. These reasons lies in the economic model. These reasons lies in the economic model. Anyhow, I will come to that. See, in every society, people need some public services. Public services. That means public provides some services to the people. Let it be water, drinking water, health facilities, educational facilities, skill facilities. Like these are some of the basic things for the humanity. And if they acquire those things, and definitely they will be a resource and they will be used for any productive purposes. But unfortunately, these public services we are privatizing. We are privatizing. And when you are privatizing to the extent where a common man, a poor man even cannot afford the services in the hands of private people. The poor person want to be uplifted from that poverty. You must give an education. If that education is not in your hand, it is in someone's hand, and if that is unaffordable to that common man, then automatically it leads to the inequality. And that happened during the COVID-19. And government education system is not in a position to provide the education. The government health system is not in a position to provide the health facilities. That is the reason why people have started depending on private people. And the money whatever they have, or whatever the resources that they have, that are shifted from the public into the private sector. So this is one important reason. And if you want to reduce the inequalities, the minimum basic services must be in the hands of government. Or if it is in the hands of somebody, they are in an affordable price. Otherwise, this entire income shifts from these people to them. And if the people are unaffordable, then automatically they will deprive of this, and that leads to further inequality, because he cannot become a human resource. He will end up with that meager income. Second one, the massive concentration of corporate power. Corporate power. So this corporate power is very, very dangerous. This corporate power is very, very dangerous because they are monopoly. Because they are monopoly. See, wherever there is a monopoly, definitely it leads to concentration of wealth. Wherever there is a monopoly, it leads to the concentration of wealth. I will give an example. See, this is a company who will manufacture the mobile phones. Just assume. He is a monopoly, he is the only one. Now what happened is, there are some individual people are there. and this individual people, they try to purchase the mobile, so they will give all that money to this company, and this company collect the money from all these people, and this company provides employment to some people, and they will give salary to these people, and they will collect this money, and they will supply mobile phones here. The collected amount of money, just assume 1000 rupees, the salary just assume 500 rupees, and remaining 500 is profit to him. Had there is another mobile company, instead of coming 1000 people here, 1000 rupees coming here, maybe 300 rupees to this company, 300 rupees to this company, 100 rupees to this company, and 300 rupees to this company. This company could have given employment to some, this company could have given employment to some, this company could have given employment to him. Then his profits, just assume here he has given salary as some 150 rupees, 150. That means his profit is slashed from 300 to 150, that 500 to 150. That means his profits are reduced, and whatever the profit that he got earlier, it was distributed among others, and in that company other people got some employment. If you have a competition, this condition prevails. But if you don't have a competition, this entire money will go to that company, and he will employ only some people, and he will get that remaining thing as a profit. And suppose when there is a pandemic, he will cut some more people. He don't reduce his profit. In order to, he don't reduce his profit. He wanted to get the same profit. For getting the same profit, he will slash the employment. And moreover, during the pandemic, there is a huge demand for the product, because he will artificially create the demand, and instead of 1000 in earlier case, he collect 2000 rupees, because of this pandemic and because of this demand condition, the prices are increased. When the prices are increased, when the employment has cut short, from where this extra money is going? This extra money is going into the pocket of this person. That is how new billionaires emerged. Okay, he earned this much amount of money, but did he is really using for expansion of business? Yes, just assume he is again using for expansion of the business. And okay, just assume he has spent that amount of money here. When he spent that amount of money here, again he will provide employment to some people, and whatever he produced, again he collects some money, so that because he want to sell that product to these people, again this entire money is collecting with him. That means in every time, whatever the money that is coming out of this company, whatever the money that is entering into this company, there is always a disproportion. That is how they are making huge amount of profit. When they are making huge amount of profit, lot of amount of money with these individuals, and so that they are able to collect more amount of money in terms of different industries. Now that is what happened during the pandemic. From some energy industries, the industries that are in energy sector, industries in pharmaceutical sector, industries in food sector, industries in some technological sector, they got more. But had instead of these few companies, if you have given an opportunity for n number of companies, probably this condition could not have been arisen. This condition has arisen because only one company. The demand has increased because only few people are there. They are able to manage it. Had the number is more, then probably we might have arrested this problem. The entire amount of money could have been distributed among n number. Now what he is accumulating only on his own, that the single person's accumulation could have been distributed to n number, and n number could have given employment to another n number. So this is how money could have been distributed. that could have led to the growth. But this happened, it happened across the world. It happened across the world. And whatever they are accumulating, there is another important thing. So should they not accumulate this? If they have a knowledge, if they have the technology, if they are able to do that, if they are, okay, they may say like, okay, if you don't promote n number of industries, then what I should do? A company called X, they may say like, okay, I am working in this mobile company, I am manufacturing mobile. If no one comes, no one starts, what I should do? But a government is having a responsibility, like whatever they are accumulating, you must collect in terms of tax, and the tax evasion is more. One is public services enter into private, second one is huge monopolistic corporates, third one is those who are making huge profits, they don't pay tax, they will avoid the tax, they don't comply with the taxation provisions. That is another reason. It happened across the world, and they will shift their profits from here to there and there to here, and ultimately they will avoid the taxes. And the another important thing is this money injection. I'll tell you, money injection, these are all things mentioned in Oxfam. Money injection in the sense, see, during the pandemic, the same example I'll give, during the pandemic, people have little amount of money, they have used it for some other purposes, maybe for food or any other health expenditure. Now you don't have money. Then what the governments have thought is, when people don't have money, it is very difficult for the survival. It leads to the both loss of life and as well as the economy. That means a collapse of economy. So governments have injected some money into the economy. So people started getting some money. Okay, in India only some people got in different forms, and we got assistance in terms of material. But if you take the case of Western countries, they distribute a lot of amount of money. So some billions of dollars of money governments are distributed. When governments are distributed that billions of dollars of money to the individual, because of this existence of corporate monopolies, either for your energy needs or for your medical needs or for your other needs, again this money went, again it has deposited in the pocket of that billionaires. That means whatever you have distributed the money, it has become useful for the people, maybe for one instance. After that, this entire money went and it has deposited in the pockets of few people. So this is exactly the problem. And that means whatever the government has pumped, it directly went into the pockets of few. And that is why if you see some of the companies like Pfizer, Moderna and some other pharmaceutical companies, how much profits that they have made. And in the food sector also, Walmart has made lot of profits. And in pharmaceutical sector, many companies made a profit. That is the reason why Indian government and even South Africa, they opted for this TRIPS waiver on COVID-19 vaccines. No, we should not allow this profiteering, because there are only few monopolistic companies are there, and even if anyone want a vaccine, and each and every rupee of you and me and everyone should directly enter into the pocket of that Pfizer and Moderna. Are they going to give it back? No, they don't. They don't invest. Even if they invest, that entire money cannot directly come, because he cannot provide employment to all. But are he really paying the enough amount of tax? We don't know, because the taxation provisions and all, because they are making some excess amount of profit now. For the excess amount of profit, they don't make any extra tax payment. So this is what exactly happened in the world. So like energy companies made a profit, pharmaceutical companies made a profit. Likewise, you have seen more than 500 billionaires that they have emerged during this pandemic. So these are some of the reasons, like public service to private, corporate monopolies, and even the money injection, and as well as the tax evasions. So now how you need to address this concern? How you need to address this? Now you understand the reason for exact problem. This money is enrouting to few people. I am not saying like each and every rupee of everyone is going to the same person, but majority of the people's money is going to that few oligarchs, that few people. And when this entire money of the society, if it goes and if it joins with a few people, these people are becoming rich, and these people don't have any money with them. They are starving. Now, at this point of time, a responsible governments, what they must do is, a responsible governments must collect the tax from these people and they must spend on these people. They must spend on these poor people. Because this is an extraordinary condition and these people are making some extraordinary profits. This is an extra, their profits have suddenly increased. I told you, in the last 23 years how much profit they have made, that they have made it in last 24 months. So a responsible government should collect the tax and they must spend here. Otherwise, from where government will bring? Do you think that government prints? And you know the consequences if the government prints, what will happen? So this is exactly the thing. So when you want a resources, you can't go for a debt. If you go for a debt, again it will be a burden on poor, and again it will burden the entire country. So what is an optimum way that you can do? You just tax this super rich who made huge amount of profits in a little amount of time. That a responsible government must do. So your fair taxation is very, very important. Fair taxation. And under this fair taxation, this Oxfam report has given some suggestions. The suggestions are something like this. There is a tax called windfall tax. Windfall tax means, actually it was started in the Britain in the year 1997. This windfall tax, Tony Blair, the Labour government, he is the Prime Minister at that point of time. In the year 1980, under Margaret Thatcher, when that country went for the privatization, they thought like these private people are making extra profits, so we must take some money from them and we must spend it on common man. That is why they brought a windfall tax. Actually, this windfall tax is not a regular tax, it's a one-time tax. Whenever these people are making some extra profits, that means huge amount of profits don't come from anywhere, it comes from the common man, and the responsible government will collect one-time tax and they will spend it on the other developmental aspects, so that the money will be injected back again into the economy and that will circulates. So this windfall tax should levy. This is what the proposal. And Italy has already started imposing 25% of windfall tax on energy companies. Because of this increasing oil prices, these crude oil companies are making lot of profit. Even there was a proposal in India, India can also impose, but Indian government is not interested in imposing the windfall tax. Indian government is not interested in imposing the windfall tax. And apart from this, they said like a one time, that means this is a very extraordinary thing. So you must impose a one-time wealth tax on extra profits. One-time wealth tax on extra profit, extra wealth creation that what you have made. So by considering this as a very a special condition, the government should collect extra tax from the ultra rich people or the people who made an extra profits. And even the Oxfam proposed like there must be a continuous wealth tax, that wealth tax rate should be high. So this is somewhat they have proposed. That means the entire theme is, the fair taxation means those who are gaining more and more profits beyond a particular point and that extra profits. Because normally as a company you make some profits, but suddenly you made some very extra profit. On these extra profits, at least there must be some special tax, so that you can use that money here. Because you must understand it carefully, this is not something like disincentivizing the companies who are performing well. You must understand it carefully. This is not to disincentivize a companies who are performing well. This is because of some extraordinary conditions, because of the monopolistic nature of the economy or the society, you made an extra profit. See, I'll give a simple example. See, during the COVID-19, doctor has charged 10 lakh rupees a bill for the COVID patient. In what way it will become 10 lakh? Whatever the PPE kit you use, whatever the medicine that you use, whatever the scan that you use, even an open heart surgery patient, for him the bill is around 5 lakhs. How come it will be 10 lakh? Is it not an undue profit that you made out of this? And likewise, in an economy, in some conditions, in some extraordinary conditions, these companies will make such a profit. And when such a huge profits are made, definitely you need to collect and you need to spend. And there is a philosophical angle to this also, because that happened because of society, and you must have some responsibility to contribute it to the society. That's what Mahatma Gandhi used to say it as a charity. You should be like a charity. But the thing is, this is what exactly the point. So that fair taxation is compulsory, especially in these circumstances. Second one, apart from fair taxation, there are other important issues. Providing public services, especially the social protection like health. The government must provide. Had the government provided this health system, probably these people could not have become that much rich. The money was with the people itself. The people could have been used this money for other purposes, and that could have led to the increase, that could have led to the growth of economy, instead of kept idle with someone else. Next, the social security and the fair taxation system. Inflation and price control. This is very, very important. During these type of pandemic conditions, the people creates an artificial demand because there is no perfect market system. And because of that, the prices are increasing. Prices are increasing means inflation. That inflation will takes away the majority of the savings of the common man. It will eat away the entire incomes of the common man. There is an item that you want to purchase. Earlier it was 5 rupees, but suddenly it has become 25 rupees. And this 20 rupees going where? It's going to that person who is producing. And ultimately it is going to some big industries, because they are having their own presence in the huge area. That means a vast area in different countries. Their influence is high, and you never allowed any other player to grow to such an extent. Had the n number of players are there, probably this could have been distributed n number, even if it becomes the 25 rupees. If n numbers are there, this 5 don't become 25. This 5 may maximum it may become 10. If this 5 become 10, the 5 could have been distributed among different people. So the point is, because of this monopolistic thing, they are able to increase the prices, and whatever the inflation that is increased, that has taken away the incomes of the people. And you must reduce that inflation. If you are taken a decisions to reduce the inflation or to regulate the price, then definitely the profits of those people could have come down. And it can come down even if you do it now. And the another important aspect is this suggested in terms of countries by the Oxfam, like poorer nations, the debt you have given, just cancel that debt. That is what one suggestion they have given. And second one is, the IMF should be so generous in providing the special drawing rights to the poor countries, so that you give the money they will come to the pre-pandemic level. But above all, there is a one thing that is compulsory, which I have already discussed, but I will make it so explicit. See, those people who are taking the mains answer writing program of Amrita IAS, I think probably you might have understood, recently we conducted an essay test, and in that essay test one question was asked. I will read that question for your understanding. Every society creates an ideology to persist inequality. Every society creates an ideology to persist inequality. That means every society is coming up with an ideology, and ultimately it is leading to the inequality. Maybe to persist the inequality you are bringing that ideology. That is what the meaning. So why I have read this question is, some people are now arguing these type of accumulation of wealth or concentration of wealth or huge disparities of rich and poor, it is because of a capitalism. It is because of some other ism. See, I don't have any ism to solve this problem. I can't suggest any ism, because no ideology has suggested to concentrate wealth in the hands of few people. Perhaps every ideology aimed at benefit of common good, but every ideology end up in concentrating the wealth. Take the case of socialism. Socialism preaches lot of things, but ultimately it end up with the communist, the concentration of entire power and everything in the hands of the communists. Take the case of capitalism. Capitalism preached many things, but ultimately it has created some few individual monopolies. So the solution is you should change the economic model, and you should change the economic model in such a way that there should be a perfect market. Market should not either be controlled by the government or should be by the individual monopolies or oligarchs. If monopolies or oligarchs, or even if the government, if it try to regulate it, then ultimately it end up with lot of problems. If government to regulate it has its own capacities, it cannot produce beyond a particular point, it cannot grow beyond a particular point, and it ultimately suppress the entrepreneur capabilities and skills of the individual, that automatically reduces the overall growth. But if you allow the private oligarch or private individuals, they don't allow anyone to grow, and they try to get more amount of wealth from the individuals, and they concentrate wealth in the hands of them, and hardly they may expand the business, but in total if you take how much they are collecting and how much they are spending, will lead to imbalance that creates a lot of problem. So you need to devise a new economic model in which there is no scope for any monopoly, either it is a government monopoly or it is a private monopoly. If n number of players are allowed in any aspect, that means in any sectors of the economy, then definitely the prices will automatically stabilize. Even because of any unfortunate incident, if the prices increases, if there is a scarcity, that whatever the money that they are collecting from the people, it will be distributed among the different players, that automatically percolates into many hands. So there will not be such an amount of problem that we are getting, and there is no problem of this oppression, there is no problem of this democracy existential threats. So that is an important aspect that you must learn. So that economic model change is necessary. But our governments are doing? No, we are good at concluding lot of international summits in many aspects, but are we really concentrating on this reducing inequalities and stopping the money to enter into the hands of the MNCs? No, we are unable to. And if you take the case of India, in India also it is happening. But it is not to the extent of what is happening in other countries. Yes, it is happening. And there are few giants are there, and everywhere they are entering. If everywhere they are entering, and if there is no scope for the others, then this entire money will enroute into them. But a responsible government should also promote the other people in this sector. It should not keep anything in the hands of government, or it should not just hand over it to few people. It should be a level playing field for everyone. If everyone come to this, then definitely that problem will get solved. Perhaps Mahatma Gandhi has said a self republic of every village should be a self republic and self sustained. That means something which you are getting, let us say a product A, and if n number of people are using that product and only one producer is producing that all products are produced by only one. It should not be like that. There should be n number. Everywhere there should be a self-sufficiency, opportunity for everyone to produce. Consumer should have a more choice. Then you don't get this problem. So either you call it as communism or you call it as a capitalism. If you have the monopoly, this problem comes. This leads to the concentration of wealth, and that concentration of wealth is now entirely changing the politics. And ultimately it is questioning the existence of democracy. So that is the serious problem that we will face. So these are some of the changes that are required to reduce these inequalities, and Oxfam report is very, very important. Maybe you may get a question in terms of essay. Perhaps I have explained the root cause of these inequalities in the society, the model of development which we are talking about. Some governments are doing their level best. Some governments are pro cronies. That means they wanted some establishments because they are so close to the governments and they are providing government with a lot of assistance. So it's happening across the world, but governments must sit and think on this, like how we can reduce this, because you can tax the people, and according to the Oxfam there is a windfall. Suppose if you collect a windfall tax or a one-time tax on the 10 richest people, from the 10 richest people, whatever the profits that you gain, if you collect 99% of the tax, a one-time tax on them, you can provide all the free vaccination to every human being in the world. You can provide quality education and quality health care, and it will also help us to solve the gender based problem of 80% of the countries. Lot of money is concentrated somewhere. It is completely locked. That is not put to use for the benefit of common man. So this is very, very important. Just make a note out of it and use these points accordingly wherever it is required, either in terms of society or in terms of economy or in terms of essay. So you can use these things. So this is something about Oxfam report. It is there in the net. You can just go and follow it, so that just make a note out of it. It will be very useful to you. Okay, thank you.
Amrita IAS Academy.